Hello, I'm Henry Keane and we are UATV English. We debunk Russian propaganda with Ukrainian truth for all our global sake. Please help us by commenting and subscribing to our channel. Welcome to the news balls. Watch in the episode. Top secret Ukrainian operation declassified. Putin's announced peace talks stalled by Putin. MH17 flight, 298 people murdered, is now officially Russian crime. For the first time, Ukraine has officially shown how our armed forces actually use the S-200 system 5V-28 surface-to-air missile. Its first known use was recorded 2 years ago in July 2023 during a strike on Taganrog in Russia. A year ago, a Russian aircraft was destroyed using exactly that type of missile. And for the first time in history of war, an A-50 early warning and control aircraft was destroyed. And a Tu-22M3 long-range bomber, which was shot down on April 19, 2024 at a record distance of 308 kilometers.
In the video released by the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine, featuring the launch of the 5V-28 missile from the S-200, several important details should be noted. Moreover, the footage clearly shows that these missiles were launched from the same locations multiple times, as indicated by the scorch marks from the rocket engines on the ground. It is also evident that old launch positions were reused for these launches. All of this highlights how risky these operations were, since the launcher is completely immobile and has no ability to evade a retaliatory strike. Furthermore, the missile is prepared directly at the launch site, including fueling it with a rather toxic liquid propellant, which requires the use of chemical protective suits. From Defense Express publication.
We now welcome you to watch the Ukrainian Secret Service ops in action that were classified before, not only because they are unique and brilliant, but because they were significantly more dangerous to carry out than you could have ever imagined. We came to liberate Ukraine, but they can't protect their own communities in Russia. In an intercepted call, a Russian from Bryansk region laments the absurdity of their situation. Hundreds of homes destroyed there, entire communities obliterated. Whole bridges just mysteriously disappear after the shelling. Well, when you start a war, don't be too surprised when it actually knocks at your own door in the end.
Now this, in the Klimovsk district, 150 houses were destroyed. Basically, some burned down, some damaged. 150 houses. That one, what's it called? I forgot the name. Yeah, there were 300 people living there. Now only 40 are left. The rest, well, burned down. 4 houses, and today, 6 more were on fire. And somewhere near Starodub, it got hit. Probably near Kurkovichi. Bagamaz wrote, probably near his estate. And in Demyanki, just got a message. They blew up the bridge between Demyanki and Azarovka with a rocket. So who were they hitting? Ours? Or was it our side hitting them? Anyway, the night was fun, huh? Hell, did it not catch fire? Can't they just find where they're firing from and destroy it? What the are you, damn bastards?
On the evening of May 11th, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy announced that he is ready for direct meetings and negotiations with Russia. and will personally wait for Vladimir Putin in Turkey, in Istanbul, on May 15th. Such breaking announcement was made after the five leaders Macron, Merz, Tusk, Starmer and Zelensky had a joint phone conversation with Donald Trump.
I wish you health, fellow Ukrainians. I've just spoken with President Erdogan of Turkey. It was a meaningful conversation. I'm grateful to the President for the support. I reaffirmed to him my readiness for direct and substantive negotiations with Putin. Ukraine has always supported diplomacy. I'm ready to come to Turkey. Unfortunately, the world still has not received a clear response from Russia to the numerous proposals for a ceasefire.
Earlier that day, US President Donald Trump urged Ukraine to immediately, I just quoted, accept Putin's proposal for negotiations in Turkey, while simultaneously expressing skepticism about whether Ukraine would reach any agreement with Putin and if that agreement is even possible, and how we all have doubts that Putin will arrive at the meeting that he himself had appointed. Well, when I say we, I mean you, as I had no doubt he would not come. Why would he? He's Putin. As of now, no senior Kremlin officials have formally responded, but the tone from the low levels of the Kremlin suggests Putin is unlikely to attend this meeting, just like Federation Council Deputy Speaker Konstantin Kosachev, who dismissed Zelensky's invitation as a spectacle, he said, and a comedy, arguing that such meetings should not be arranged in tense conditions, and also, as usual, accusing Ukraine, of course, of avoiding real negotiations.
Military hardware movements. Massing of military hardware. They use this time of the ceasefire to move their vehicles to locations where they would not be spotted. Our task is to patrol all areas from village to village so that our crews can target them. We monitor the zone within the reach of our FPV drones.
Putin has continued to promote the narrative that the Ukrainian government is just illegitimate. A key part of his justification for avoiding direct negotiations, he referred to Ukraine always as to the Kyiv regime when speaking about potential talks and deliberately avoiding reference to President Zelenskyy. The Kremlin may need to walk back or pause this narrative at least if serious negotiations are to occur. However, analysts note this rhetoric could be revived later to justify breaking any potential peace deal. Following the call of the coalition of the willing in Kyiv to Washington, Trump reiterated his support for a 30-day ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. He warned that without such an agreement, Washington and its partners would impose further and sweeping sanctions. When speaking about Russia's war against Ukraine, also Steve Witkoff, Trump's special envoy, noted that it is not a US war, but the country is committed to end it.
We did not start the war, but we want to help end it. The way to do that is through a ceasefire where everybody stops the violence and we spend some time together making sure we can solve the underlying problems, and I think we can do that. Steve Witkoff, Special Envoy for the Middle East of the President of the US, in an interview for Breitbart.
So that is what we have for now. Europe urged an ultimatum and Russia is running from the proposals they made themselves. And we are waiting for May 15th just to be sure that nothing changed. 11 years. The figure of the day, if you will. 11 years ago, Russian tanks invaded the Luhansk region of Ukraine. 11 years ago, Russians did down Malaysian flight MH17 over Ukraine. And it took 11 long years of thorough investigation of an authoritative international aviation body, International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, to rule the bare fact it was Russia who killed 298 passengers and a crew, including 196 Dutch citizens and 38 Australians, or residents of Australia, that were aboard of the MH17 flight. Both governments said that the ICAO would be in the coming weeks considering what form of reparation is in order, and whatever the reparation form will be in order, we all know that Russia will just ignore that, of course.
I want to know who killed my children. He hugged me really tight and he told me like, Mom, I I'm so afraid to take this plane. You know, I'm so afraid. What happened when the airplane will crash? I told him, Miguel, come on, you've been on flights many times. You are with Shaka. Everything is going just to be fine. He said, you promise me? I said, I promise everything will be okay.
Malaysian Airlines flight MH17 departed from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur on July 17, 2014 and was shot down over eastern Ukraine as fighting raged between pro-Russian separatists and Ukrainian forces. Followed by 8 years of investigation, in November 2022, Dutch judges convicted 2 Russian men and 1 Ukrainian national in absentia of murder, considering their respective roles in the attack. Back then, Moscow called the ruling scandalous and said it would not extradite its citizens as Russia has nothing to do with this ferocious crime.
I welcome today's important International Civil Aviation Organization Council conclusion, reaffirming Russia's responsibility for the downing of Flight MH17. This is one more step toward restoring justice for this crime. And a clear message. No matter how much money and effort Russia put into lying to conceal its crimes, the truth wins out and justice prevails. Andriy Sybiha, Ukrainian Minister of Foreign Affairs, on X social network.
The ICEO, which is based in Montreal, did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Back then, the case was launched in 2022 by Australia and the Netherlands. The decision is an important step towards establishing the truth and achieving justice and accountability for all victims of Flight MH17 and their families and loved ones, Dutch Foreign Minister Gaspar Veldkamp said in a statement.
I am pleased with this decision by the ICAO Council, first and foremost because of what it means for the next of kin of the victims of the downing of Flight MH17. It cannot take away their grief and pain, but the decision is an important step towards establishing the truth and achieving justice and accountability for all victims of Flight MH17 and their families and loved ones. This decision also sends a clear message to the international community. States cannot violate international law with impunity. Casper Veldkamp, Foreign Minister of the Netherlands, in an official statement.
Oh, yes, they can. I mean, look at Russia. Look at all natural-born Russian brazen lies that they toss off as patriotism of national illusions, grandeur, or economic success, depending on what is most advantageous to the Kremlin at any given moment. They killed over 300 Dutch and Australians and already got away with it. I mean, don't get me wrong, yes, there is an ICAO agency and there is a law, and yes, they confirm Russia is a perpetrator according to all the facts. And Russians are like, so what? 11 years ago? Just wait for it. In 8 years, we're going to invade Ukraine and kill 500,000 Ukrainians, maybe burn their cities, rape their women, abduct 20,000 children, and the world will come and ask us to stop offering a peace deal that we will just reject, and we will spit in your collective Western face and show you the middle finger and call you names, and you'd still buy our Russian oil, Russian gas, Russian diamonds, and you still won't be able to even take away from us those money we have in your Western banks, and we still will be buying luxury mansions in London, villas in French Riviera and Italy, and hide our money in Greek offshores. So when Dutch Foreign Minister Gaspar Veldkamp, with no offense, says no one can violate international law with impunity, what he actually meant is no one but Russia, maybe. As Russians continue their terror, Poland has accused Russian intelligence services of orchestrating a massive fire that nearly completely destroyed a shopping center in the capital of Warsaw last year.
Poland will close the Russian consulate in Krakow, announced Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski. The reason? Poland has obtained evidence that the arson attack on a Warsaw shopping center in 2024 was orchestrated by Russian intelligence services. In addition to the Krakow consulate, Russia still maintains an embassy in Warsaw and a consulate general in Gdańsk.
It is outrageous, but sadly not surprising. I want to remind you that previously I also closed the Russian consulate in Poznan after a previous act of sabotage in Poland, an attempted arson of factory in Wrocław, Yesterday, the Ministers of Interior and Justice showed, or declared, that we have indisputable evidence that this enormous fire at Merywilska shopping centre was conducted on behalf of Russian forces. It was a miracle no one died there, so it's not a behaviour we can tolerate.
On May 12, 2024, a large shopping center in Warsaw caught fire. The blaze began simultaneously in multiple locations and quickly engulfed the entire complex. A total of 1,400 shops and service points were destroyed. The investigation took nearly a year. According to Poland's Minister of Justice and Prosecutor General Adam Bodnar, 55 prosecutors, 100 police officers, as well as experts and technicians were involved. Authorities interviewed 70 witnesses and 530 victims. The investigation concluded that it was a deliberate arson attack. According to the prosecution, the actions of the suspects were organized and coordinated by a specific individual located in Russia. In a joint statement, Poland's Ministers of Justice and Interior stressed that some of the suspects were also linked to acts of sabotage in neighboring Lithuania, which is cooperating with Warsaw in the investigation.
We now know for sure that the Great Fire of the Merywilska shopping centre in Warsaw was caused by arson ordered by the Russian Special Services. Some of the perpetrators have already been detained. All the others are identified and searched for. We will get you all. Donald Tusk, Prime Minister of Poland, on social network X.
Following Warsaw's decision to close Russia's consulate in Krakow, the Russian Foreign Ministry responded by hinting at possible retaliatory measures. Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski emphasized that a significant number of Russian diplomats operating in EU countries are engaged in subversive activities. He called on his European colleagues to consider imposing restrictions on such individuals.
Please remember, there are still more than 2,000 Russian diplomats functioning in the European Union, and I do not see many Russian tourists in Krakow now. Many of Russian diplomats in European Union perform tasks inconsistent with the status of a diplomat. We have already restricted the movement of Russian diplomats. This is another message to the Russian authorities. We know what you are talking about. We do not accept this, and we will draw consequences.
In addition to sabotage, Poland is also confronting what officials describe as an unprecedented Russian attempt to interfere in the country's presidential election. Ahead of the first round of voting scheduled for May 18th, Poland became a prime target for Russian sabotage, cyber attacks, and disinformation campaigns. Since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Poland has become a key logistical hub for delivering aid to Kyiv, making it a major focus for Kremlin intelligence services.
Podczas obecnych wyborów
During the current presidential elections in Poland, we are facing an unprecedented attempt from the Russian side to interfere in the electoral process. This is not being done in the direction of one election committee, but all election committees. This is being done in the fields of combining the attack on the Polish infosphere by spreading disinformation in combination with hybrid attacks on Polish critical infrastructure in order to paralyze the normal functioning of the state.
Poland is also cracking down on sanctions violations involving Russia. According to Polish media, tax authorities in the Masovian voivodeship uncovered an illegal scheme to import timber from Belarus and Russia. Investigators found that one local company had been bringing plywood into Poland via Kazakhstan in order to bypass EU restrictions. The suspects have been charged and placed under arrest for 3 months. Reported by Nikita Skoblikov, UATV News.
That was it for today. Thanks for watching. I'm Henry Keane and that was News Pulse. See you at the next beat.